Welcome, everybody. Let's continue from page 63. This is a new heading that begins here. It says world. Interesting, no? So, don't you think that this is, I think, the last section in this book? Don't you think we've covered more or less every topic related with life? Yeah. Let's read the text here. The key to world peace is to teach people to think for themselves and to use discernment. I hope you understand the word discernment. Discernment is the ability to distinguish, between right and wrong, true and false, important, less important. So it's a really important virtue or important quality for us to develop. In most spiritual schools, it is one of the primary properties or qualities required for the spiritual path. Yeah. Okay. Now, why does Master say that this is discernment and thinking for yourself is important for world peace? You see, let's just take a step back. What is the purpose of education? Now, of course, education now is distorted, and the meaning of education is it should make me employable. I should be able to find a job, this, that, and so on. But really, the most important purpose of education are two. Number one, the universally known and accepted principles must be taught. Secondly, teach people how to find information, how to think, how to discern. These are really the two main requirements or purposes of education. Now, and you can see in societies where education is not teaching discernment, those societies go through big problems. Where education thinks that its job is to create, its purpose is to make people employable or something like that. That then is a big problem. Why is it important for people to think for themselves? Why does it lead to world peace? You see, if I don't think for myself, I will be led, or rather misled. I can be misled by others. What we call manipulation. If I cannot distinguish between right and wrong, between true and false, between friend and enemy, then I can be misled. I may end up treating somebody who is actually not an enemy as an enemy. And that is what you will see in societies all over the world. People are finding somebody to blame. Oh, it is because of these people that our society is not doing well. Then so they all sorts of misdirections, misinformation, disinformation happens. But if people can think for themselves, if they are free thinkers, then they will question whatever somebody tells them. They will question. They will test against the universal principles. They will be able to distinguish between true and false. They will be able to distinguish between right and wrong. Yes? So just keep in mind, this is the most important goal of the education system. And this is the most important requirement, according to Master, for world peace. Okay, let's turn the page 65, Sutra number 1. By being born into a certain country, the incarnated soul develops certain qualities. So these qualities, in sometimes we also call them sanskar or samskar. They, our first or initial qualities, they develop based on our culture. Whether you say nation or society or even the family. That is where we learn the first things from. That is where our first beliefs and ideas and concept of right, wrong, and so on. That is what shapes it in the beginning. Now, if you go to a more esoteric or a more spiritual level, you will see that the soul, before it takes birth, it sort of draws a life script. It says, okay, these are the lessons that I need to learn in this lifetime. For that, which is the best society that I need to be born into? Because when you are born into that society, those are the qualities that are ingrained into you right from the beginning. That is so, that is what determines the choice of our motherland, our family, because that will then help the soul realize its life goals, what it has decided before taking birth. If, say, for example, some soul has been in previous lifetimes in very ascetic or very sannyasi type of environments, very poverty laden. Now that soul needs to experience wealth, so it will prefer to be born in a rich family in a very materialistic society. Because if it again takes birth in a very spiritual society, in a family that is not so well off, it may not be able to learn the required lessons for this lifetime. And the opposite also, maybe in previous lifetimes, that soul has experienced wealth and prosperity and so on, and now needs to experience deprivation or poverty, or not poverty but plain simpleness, simple lifestyle. So for that, what is useful for it? To be born in such a society, in such a family, and so on. But keep in mind, all that is helpful, but we are all having free will. So it is not unusual. Somebody may be born in a rich family, but may then choose to be a monk, or vice versa, born into a very cultured and very spiritual family, but may become very, very materialistic, because the soul has free will. Yeah, I hope you are getting the point. The point of the society, the choice of society, family to be born into, can help the soul achieve its life goals. Okay, let's move on. The greatness of a country depends on the greatness of just a few souls. So we see that in every country, there are only a few leaders. Now, mind you, there may be a lot of great souls, but they have to be the leaders. Then this will apply. If nobody listens to them, nobody follows them, nobody elects them into position, then even though there are some great souls, they may not have much impact on the society. But in general, you will find great souls get recognized, they get elevated to positions or situations where they gather followers, where people listen to them. Yeah. All right. The next two sutras: countries rise or fall based on their karma. Countries that look down upon other countries will be humbled. This is the law of karma. They should practice compassion. So now number one master is telling us that just like law of karma applies to every individual, it also, it works at every level. So there is like individual karma, there is also family karma, there is also societal karma, there is regional karma, and there is country karma. And you can see this, there have been many great civilizations that we have read about in the history books. I mean, in case you are more in line with the Western education system, the Greek Empire, the Roman Empire, many European countries, they had colonies all over the world. They were extremely powerful. Not very far back, USSR, the Russian, Russia through the Soviet Republic, they were very powerful countries, but they have been humbled. And many people say now this of the United States of America also, that it is probably heading for like not such a great time, because it has been very, it looks down on other people. There are karmic lessons that need to apply to them. What is the lesson for us? If it can happen to societies, imagine at what level it will apply to us. So we need to be careful. We need to ensure that our family is careful. We must practice humility, compassion, mercy. We should not look down on other people just because in this lifetime they are not so fortunate. Okay, let's move on. If you want your country to be rich, the people must have purchasing power. Make the workers and farmers rich, and the country will become prosperous. I mean, it's so so amazing to me how broad and how widespread and how all encompassing is Master Choa's understanding of the world. For example, now this is something that it's an extraordinary truth and extraordinary principle. And you can see that all the countries that are extremely prosperous, it is not because just a few people are very prosperous. It is because the average person, what in India we call Aam Aadmi, all the ordinary people must have money to spend. They must have some amount of savings, some amount of prosperity. Only then the country or the society becomes prosperous. Oh, this is a beautiful sutra, the last one. The difference between a rich country and a poor country is based also in the consciousness of the people. This is a super great teaching. The difference between poverty and prosperity is consciousness. Where is your consciousness? You see, we all understand the relevance of generosity, the virtue of generosity, how it is connected to prosperity. Yes, I hope you are aware of that. But if you suffer from a poverty consciousness, if you suffer from this, what is called, there are two terms. There is, of course, prosperity, poverty, but also there is the abundance mindset versus the deficiency mindset. What is the difference? Abundance mindset says there's plenty of everything, nothing is deficient, plenty of everything. And deficiency mindset says, no, 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 everything is limited, everything is restricted. If I spend too much, if I give too much, if I share too much, then what will I do? Something like that. So, this abundance mindset, which you can also call prosperity consciousness, that is very important for prosperity, for richness. It is, you see, because that is what will lead to your practicing generosity, or for that country to be practicing generosity. And without generosity, prosperity becomes very difficult. Then prosperity will come by looting, by, crime. Okay, let's move on. Let's read the next three, four sutras together because they are all interconnected. Extreme conditions require extreme measures. Sometimes force has to be used to practice loving kindness. Under extreme conditions, force is necessary to minimize or to prevent injury. Mercy and forgiveness must be balanced by the necessity for peace and order. It is the duty of people in authority to stop harmful actions. When a government agency fails to do its duties, this is an act of omission and is harmful. Harmful to whom? Harmful to that particular country or society, and to, of course, its citizens. So, what is Master trying to tell us here? Number one, he is telling us that, in the first two, three sutras, he's saying that loving kindness, mercy, compassion, yes, but there also needs to be order. There needs to be discipline. There has to be law and order. If somebody is bent on harming others or is bent on harming himself, then the society, through its agencies, society means, so the society appoints a government, and the government has different agencies or parts or machines, like the police, like the army, like the law and order or justice department. So they have to step in and ensure that the person will not harm others or will not harm himself. And also, another country may decide to invade us. So that has to be resisted, because otherwise it will affect the negatively or adversely affect the rights of its own citizens. So if the government is not able to do that, it is not functioning. It is a failure. It is, what Master says, it's an act of omission and it is harmful. You see, the basic duty of government, who we choose, is to protect its citizens from each other, from other countries. Secondly, it is to resolve disputes. You see, I believe that this is my right, someone else believes it is my right. Now there is a dispute. So some third person which we appoint, which we call the government, and the government has the justice department, or the courts, they will resolve the dispute. Both of us go to court. The court says, okay, this person's right works like this person's right works like this. Otherwise, it will lead to violence in the society. Because how else will people resolve disputes? By fighting with each other, by, practicing violence against. Then might will become right, which is never a good idea for a healthy society. I think we can stop here. Uh, one interesting question here. Why is Master talking about government and so on? Master is a spiritual teacher, he's a healing teacher. Why is he talking about government? Why is he talking about police and army and justice and law and order? He should be talking about, you are the soul and you have to evolve spiritually. Interesting thing I found in this book, The Existence of God is Self-Evident. If you go to page 13, there Master talks about it. He says there should be no separation between state and spirituality. Now, why states fail or why states become defective? Because they lose the connection with spirituality. If every state, every government, every authority will be guided by principles of spirituality, this will not happen. But it is because corruption happens and this happens and people are pursuing their own self-interest, people in power, they are elected to serve the public, but they want to become rulers. So then these problems are likely to happen. I think we'll end here.